This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. Once again, good morning, guys, or good evening. So today, as we planned, we will go through or spend some more time on each of this topic to know better about what we are going to learn in each of these topics. Okay. So we'll start from there. And somebody, if they've not joined yesterday and joined today, you wouldn't have missed anything. Yesterday, I was talking about providing the eye level overview on these topics, and today we will go a little bit, spend a couple of minutes on each of the topics so that you wouldn't have missed anything on yesterday. Okay. So first, the Java basics and JVM basics, which we will start at maybe end of the session today or from tomorrow, right? So we'll just open the slides for that to show you what are the various topics we are going to cover in it. Okay, so this is our Think as a Developer course or Think as a Developer session where we wanted to get comfortable ourselves with the Java world by having some good hands-on. Okay, so we'll first see why Java performance engineering. There were still a lot of questions about do it is still relevant or not. We'll go through those things initially to understand whatever we learn is going to be relevant for at least for next 5 years or if not more than that. Okay, so we'll just try to understand from that perspective why is it really required still, and whatever we are learning it is good or not. And then we'll start with the JDK, JVM, JRE. Some of you might know it, some of you might not know it. So we'll try to understand how this is organized, how it is getting installed in your machine. Okay, and then we'll go and look into the Java directory and how these libraries are organized. Okay, and then we'll also go and do the environmental setup for your Java to work in any of your machine. Okay, once you install the Java, we need to set this as a prerequisite. We'll go and learn directly where to set, what to set, and what is the common mistake that we make it while setting up this environmental variables. Okay, and then from there we will move on to so now your mission would have already have Java and required environmental setup, which is bare minimum for you to write some programs, and of course any of the IDE. The IDE link what is given in the Google Sheet for Eclipse, you can download and just have it ready. Okay, so the Java programming basics. So we will not go with the kind of a book like learning for Java, right? You'd have seen a lot of Java books, okay, um, uh, where they would have started with some theoretical stuff, talking about all these hoops concept and then data structures, kind of a flow that is still relevant for people who are very new, very young. They're starting their uh, in 10th standard or 12th standard or college, right? But now with our we professionals who are already working in performance testing or some other domain, we cannot go that route. It is going to be a little boring. We'll not get time. So we'll go and look into a kind of a skeleton based programming, because we are not going to become an expert. We wanted to get ourselves comfortable with Java. So we'll try to understand that. Will From a class, object, method, package, all these things. Okay, we'll try to understand what are these things more practically and more in an easier way to understand with some examples. And then we'll go and write some programs. Okay, so in the Eclipse, we'll go and create the project, new Java project, new class files, some of the methods. We'll create multiple class files, and we'll try to create some objects and call the one method from other class files, and we'll create some class files with DB connections, how to add external jars, how to import the jar files to your project, how to make a HTTP call. All these things are typical work that a developer will do, and you as a performance tester or engineer, you will also find problem with these class methods, objects, DB connections, external jars, third-party HTTP calls, all these things, it will be part of your analysis as well, right? So once you know how it is written, how it appears in a Java program, it will be more comfortable for you to speak about. That is the only intention of getting this initial classes. You should get comfortable with what you're going to talk as a performance engineer. And I promise you, this is not very technical. Also, yes, it is. Java is of course it's a programming language. It is a technical, but you don't need to worry if you think yourself that I'm not very good in programming at all. I haven't done any programming. No, it's not required. The way same way you would have learned JMeter scripts or Loadrunner scripts or any of the scripting language, right? We will make it in a such a way that it is going to be a template based programming. For any Java program, you will have this, that, and then for specific purpose, say if you want to do a DB connection, there are set of lines of code which you have to write, right? We are going to make use of the why Java is popular, because it has a huge community support. That's the advantage. We are also going to take it. If you know what to do, how to do part, you can pretty much rely on the community. Okay. Only thing is you should know what to do, and then pick right answers from the your community and put it in your project. There will be problems, there will be errors, but as you move along, you will be able to solve those problems pretty easily. All we are trying to do is simple programs. We'll go and code it, and we will go and create the jar. We'll go and create a var. We'll try to understand what is a runnable jar, what is var, how it is getting created, how we are going to execute a jar, how are we going to execute a var file, and deploying it in a Tomcat running on a server. Which means in the DevOps world, you are expected to create a war file. You are expected to deploy it in your own environment for profiling or doing your testing, right? So all these things are, you should be very comfortable with in it, right? In your project, instead of Tomcat, it could be a different server. That's all fine. But at least if you know, okay, confident enough, I can create a war file from a build. I can go and deploy it, and I can start the server. So those the kind of hands-on, you should get it. That feel, if you have it, you can expand yourself anywhere. So intention is to create these programs, create jar files, to create war files, and then deploy it in a Tomcat, and then get it running. Okay. So all these things we will practically do it today, or I don't think it is going to be today. From tomorrow, we will be doing it from this. Okay, this is going to be part of the Java basics. Okay. From there, JVM architecture is also important, because underlying engine is going to be a JVM for Java, and for more importantly for performance testing or engineering, right? More than developers will not even worry about the JVM at all. I have seen, right? They don't even worry about what configuration that has to be given in, say, the JVM or all these things. But as a performance engineer, we will be concerned, because the main component inside the JVM architecture is going to be the heap, the stack, and we are going to configure it and tune it with the different flags. So we should know what is JVM architecture for sure. So we'll look into from you creating a simple Java file, how that is going to get executed from a Java to class to JVM to an output. So we'll learn about in this we'll learn two things in deep: stack and heap. Both are very interesting topics from a JVM architecture perspective. So we'll try to learn. This is going to be a little theory, because JVM architecture, it's more about understanding the JVM. So this JVM architecture is going to be starting with, it's going to be theoretical for you to know all these components, why it is there. Okay, and then with some examples, right? So that we'll not forget. So I'll probably try to provide you good examples about the relationship between stack and heap, so that doesn't stay as a theoretical for you. So you can actually compare with some realistic examples. Okay, and so all these components as part of the architecture, we will cover from a JVM perspective. So once this is done, we will move on to all these class loader. All these things are going to be part of your JVM architecture. Okay, so those things as well, we will see it once we complete your Java basics. So with this, the first two things, right, Java basics and JVM basics, we would have covered. And for this, tools, from a tool perspective, to create a Java program, I think a lot of people have asked for the access to the drive and sheet. A lot of energy I see it, which is good. So if we can at least start with having an Eclipse. First is Java, obviously. Install the Java. Have your JDK ready. Because for Eclipse to work, you should have a Java and set up your environmental variables. Okay, so to install Java, to set up the environmental variables, all these links are available in the Google Sheet. Or you can wait till tomorrow, where we are going to see the environmental variable setup anyway. And then Eclipse is required, and then Tomcat. These four things is required, bare minimum, to start something hands-on along with the session. Okay, so these are going to be first two topics, which we will cover it mostly tomorrow and day after. But definitely, it will go for 2 sessions for sure, more than that, in fact. Okay. And then we will start with the response time analysis. So for the response time analysis, let me go to the slide and show you what we are going to cover. And as you see, the slides are just for my reference, and then to have that flow. So the slides are just for us to have that proper flow in the class, but otherwise we will be using those Eclipse when it comes to Java programming. JVM architecture, yes, it is going to be a theory, no other way for it. And then the response time analysis. Where's my response time analysis? Yeah, here it is. Okay, for the response time analysis, we are already going to have the e-library application with us, right? And we are going to create some problem in the e-library application, okay, with some of the login or some of the transactions, and we are going to take a problem statement. We are going to assume that we are working in a project. You are deployed as a performance engineer. It's a greenfield implementation. The new functionalities are getting created, and what is my role? So it's going to be a kind of a role play, right? So that it will be easy for you to understand the role as well as what we are going to do. Problem statement, we will pick a problem statement, 1 or 2 problem statements. Say a login is ready, a login page is ready, because you as a performance engineer, we will not come in a stage where everything is ready and we are going to do a scripting and testing. No, it's going to be during a development life cycle. As a developer deploys a functionality, once it is completed, we are going to take it and see how we can optimize the code. That is our role in a development life cycle, right? If you look into this SDLC cycle, there's a requirement, design, development, test, production. Be it is an agile or be it is a waterfall. In the waterfall, it will be stretched. In agile, in a sprint, it will be squeezed. Everything will be squeezed, right? So the performance tester will predominantly do the work during the testing phase, but performance engineer will have a lot of work to do during a development phase, right? So during development phase, we'll assume that there is a 2 functionality getting deployed, and we'll go and check whether the response time is good or bad. To start with, response time is going to be our first goal. Second is going to be our memory goal, right? And then if there is a problem, then we'll go and find the problem, whether it is with the client side or server side. We'll go and do this, follow this approach, right? From we'll go and validate something in the browser, we'll go and validate something in the Tomcat logs, we'll go and validate in the then we'll use a JProfiler tool for investigating the doing the CPU profiling, and then finding out the root cause of your response time problem. And then we'll go back to the Eclipse project. Whatever JProfiler says, we'll go to the Eclipse code and see which method it is pointing to and see what could have been a problem. Okay, so that is what we are going to do from a response time analysis perspective. Okay, so I will already have a file which is having a problem. Let's not worry about what is the problem to start with, because initially we will not about the root cause. Right? So we'll go and test it from a browser directly, and then we'll use the developer tools, we'll use the Tomcat logs, we'll use the JProfiler, and then combined to this, we'll arrive at the possible problems, and then the root cause of the problem through JProfiler. Okay, that is what we are going to do it in the response time analysis, both for login as well as for the one more view librarian. Okay, so we'll use all these access log JProfiler to support us in the problem. So currently the JProfiler, I don't have a license, but I have kept it as it is because it will be always available only for 15 days. So I'll probably get a new licenses by tomorrow, because this part we will start from a day after, or not even day after, maybe from third day, Friday or Monday. So I'll get it in such a way that we will make use of the licenses properly. Okay, and you also can get your, with the Gmail IDs, you can easily go and get a license. It will be valid for 3 times, 45 days. You can use it, this JProfiler license. Even after that, you can go and get a new license key with a new email ID. That's it, nothing else. JProfiler, you can use it for your training and learning purpose. You can use it in number of times, not a problem at all. In your project, you have to go and procure it. It's very cheap. In fact, it's $100 or something for an year. So mostly people will prefer using JProfiler. It's not very costly also. Okay, so I'll just close it. And I'll also show you from a response time analysis perspective. We'll also go and already the document is there. I'll open this drive. In the drive, if you go to the response time analysis, okay, I would have already captured the deliverable. From a PE perspective, we should also make sure that we provide the deliverable properly to the project team, because you never know, a day later they might have fixed the problem by themselves. You might have informed over the phone, they might have fixed it, right? So when we will not have any supporting document to say you've done all these things. Say, for example, if you wanted to do this response time analysis, right, you have to go through all these steps 1 to 8. Okay, and it is going to take good amount of 3 hours, 4 hours for you to do a very good analysis for every page. If you don't capture these in a good document, in an artifact, what will happen is people will not know, project managers will not know what is the effort you have put. For every PE activity, it is very difficult to you to justify it. Next time, for the next release, if you want to say, I'm going to do this analysis, that analysis, they will not understand why we need 4 weeks or 6 weeks for this. So these documentation are going to be important. So we'll see what are things we will capture it from a Tomcat logs, from the developer tools, from the JProfiler, and then highlighting the. I just given the very high-level steps, high-level results from each of these layer from a developer tool, Tomcat logs, but we can expand it into a proper report also. Okay, so these things are the one which we will cover it in the our response time session. Response time analysis, response time debugging, or you can call it as a response time profiling, CPU profiling. All these things are going to be part of our where it is, part of our third topic, response time analysis / debugging issues. And for this, we'll use the JProfiler access logs, Tomcat access log, and then the Chrome developer tools. Okay, next, for same login is available now. View librarian transactions are available. We have done the response time analysis. We have provided the observations or root causes. Now, next step is for the same login and view librarian. I need to understand the memory pattern. I need to understand the how much memory it is occupying. For that, I will have to follow certain steps, certain process. And then if there's a memory problem, I need to go and find out, do the memory leak analysis, and then provide the recommendation. Okay, so for that, before going to that memory leak analysis, we will spend some time on Java heap and stack, because those are important from a concept perspective. So which means I will open the memory. Okay, so here we will spend very good of time. This before going to the practical session, we'll spend good time in understanding the relationship between stack and heap. Okay, so what is stack, what is heap, how JVM uses these different components to store different things, how the relationship between stack and heap is going to be important from an overall memory perspective. We'll also look into a simple program and see how the stack is actually works. Okay, and then we'll go into a problem statement. Okay, once we know the stack and what is stack, what is a heap, how it is organized, then we'll go into a problem statement. We will look into the view librarian problem statement, and there will be a memory problem which I would have created for this one of the transaction. Then we will go and follow certain steps We will use a combination of again JProfiler and JVisual VM to do this leak analysis. Okay, and this is EAP is going to be our important factor, right? From a EAP configuration perspective, the tuning perspective, stack is something is not a very big problematic area. We will not even find problem with the stacks, or we'll not go and tune the stack component at all. But we'll still, from an interview perspective, you would have heard about Stack Overflow, right? Stack Overflow is a very famous site. So we will try to go and check the one of the program will emulate that Stack Overflow. Stack Overflow is nothing but an error, okay, error condition during runtime. That is what they named as the Stack Overflow blog name. That's a very famous one. So in the Eclipse, again, I will have a program which will create that Stack Overflow error. More from our knowledge, more from our interview perspective, to talk about a stack, we'll go and use that program to simulate the Stack Overflow error and see why it happens. Though it is not going to happen during our actual projects or actual applications, is very rare, but we'll still go and learn when that will come. From a heap perspective, yes, we will do a comprehensive heap analysis using the this particular problem statement. We'll use a JProfiler to arrive at the leak analysis, possible root causes of this leak, and we'll go back to the code, understand what is that particular method or object creating that problem. Okay, again, only this part is going to be a theory, and when it comes to a problem statement, it is going to be a completely practical. And we'll also try to understand what are the common memory leaks, and then the tuning flags, JVM tuning flags with respect to heap. Okay, there are two tuning flags. One is for the JVM heap, and then for the garbage collection. So initially we'll just look into the heap configuration from a tuning perspective, and then later on we will try to from a JVM benchmarking perspective, we'll talk a lot about what value to set, when to set, combination of your minimum heap, maximum heap, minimum thread, maximum thread. All these things are going to decide your JVM benchmarking. Those things we will talk when we complete the both memory and thread together, the JVM benchmarking stuff. Okay, so this is more from a single user analysis, right? Early profiling. The memory leak analysis is during the early performance engineering during a development stage. But the heap dump, same concept, memory issue only, but heap dump is more about during a load test, right? The difference is when you work along with the developer, you're going to profile only the login, only the view librarian. We know what is that we are profiling. We are going to identify leak and the root cause. But during a heap dump analysis, right, that is done during a load testing or endurance testing. That time, it is not only one transaction. You will have 1,000 users running various transactions. That time, if you have a bad memory growth, like we'll also go and look into these behaviors, right? Typical behaviors, what you observe during endurance test. If you see a very bad memory growth, that is when we go and take this heap dump. Okay, and then we will go and analyze the heap dump to find out the root cause. So we'll see what are the various options available to take the heap dump. We'll use a JMap utility to take the dumps. Okay, and then we will analyze it using the tool called Eclipse Memory Analyzer, and also we'll use something called heaphero.io to help us with the analyzing the dump and finding out the root cause. Okay, so this is only difference is memory leak analysis is for the single user early performance engineering for a specific transaction. Heap dump is going to be completely for the your combined load test or endurance test. We'll do the heap dump. Again, the tool we'll use the Eclipse Mat, and also we'll use the heaphero on an online website where we can upload the dump and it will provide you the results. We'll also use JMap for capturing the heap dump, and also we'll also see one of the JVM parameters that we can add, so that if an out of memory error comes, automatically how heap dump can be taken. So all the option for how to take the heap dump, we'll see it. We will take a heap dump, and then we'll go and analyze the heap dump, find out the root cause. That is what we are going to see it in the heap dump analysis. And then from there, okay, this memory alone, it will go for at least 4 to 5 days easily, because we are going to start with the Java heap and stack. We are going to look into the memory leak. we look into the heap dump, and then we are going to get into the your GC concept. So for the GC garbage collection, we will use the GC logs for the analysis. Okay, GC log is one of the source for us to capture the all the performance related metrics. That is the only source, in fact. Okay, know that there are tools like AppDynamics and Dynatrace which we'll see later, but more from the memory concept itself. We will not go to AppDynamics at this moment. We'll park it for later. Now let us try to understand if there is no AppDynamics, what we are going to do. Okay, so GC log is going to be one of the source. We'll try to understand how to take the GC related metrics from a GC log, how to enable the GC log, and from a concept perspective, we will try to understand what is shallow heap, what is retained heap. All these things are very important questions from the interview perspective when it comes to GC. So garbage collection, again, stack and heap. What is the relationship, and how GC is going to get impacted because of this relationship. And then overall in a cycle, what happens during GC, what happens. It's all, this is theoretical stuff, because GC is an algorithm. GC is a component inside JVM, and we need to know what exactly GC does. Nobody will be able to look into it. There is no tool to go and explain you this theoretical stuff anyway, because from a metrics perspective, it's all about the GC log. So before that, from an interview perspective, from you to get the knowledge, we will talk about all this marking, deletion, compacting, and I'll make it with good real world examples, so that you will not even forget about it. We'll not keep it very technical discussion. It will be more with examples, so that we'll never forget it. Okay, examples will be a little bad. I'll compare it with Swiggy. I'll compare it with some auditorium use cases, completely away from IT. But I'll come back to this, so that you will be able to correlate those theoretical stuff. Okay, so GC, we're going to see shallow, retained, heap, garbage collection, with stack and heap relationship. What happens inside the GC cycle? What is the objective of JVM for a GC? Inside GC, what happens? And then the object promotion, we'll talk about it. And here is where there will be a couple of more GC tuning flags, JVM tuning flags we will introduce. What is that? These things we will practically see it, the object promotions, and also the impact of this flags as well. We will use a small program, Eclipse program. We'll use the Visual VM. Let me open the Visual VM as well. So in the Visual VM, there is a plugin available. Visual VM, again, there is a tool which you can download it. Okay, from the site. I have given the site link as well. There is a plugin that we will use it in the Visual VM. Let me open this. Open this. GC, again, though it's a theoretical concept, from a concept perspective, it's going to be a little interesting only. It will not be definitely boring. Very important for you to answer questions in the interview for sure. So let me open. Yeah, let me just open this. Okay, let it open the open it properly. So we'll see the GC promotions, how the promotion happens, and what are the various flags associated with this. We'll see it an example with some few programs, Eclipse programs, to illustrate this object promotion, and to see these flag, how it is going to be set. We will use a sample Eclipse program for that. And this GC log, we will again go and see how to enable this GC log in the Tomcat, how to enable the GC log in the Eclipse, and then we will look into a live GC log to know the various logging data, and how do we go and calculate it. And this is a source for any AppDynamics or Dynatrace tool also. Okay, and then we'll try to understand what is major GC and minor GC, and the GC collectors also. That is again another important topic. What are various collectors, and why it is used? What are the applicability of these collectors? What is it now currently default used? Okay, and recommendation as well. So all these things, and a couple of important tuning flags. okay, what we can recommend for our projects. So that is a comprehensive session we are going to have from a memory perspective. Yeah, I think it is open. So this is a visual GC. Okay, so you will see all these Eden, old, the space given to the Eden and old. So visually, this is not going to be used for your monitoring or testing. This is more for our learning. From a GC perspective, GC log is the only thing which we'll use it for monitoring, that we will see it. But from a learning perspective, to see how many spaces, how many memories allocated to Eden or old generation, how the object gets moved visually. So it's a visual GC. So visually, you'll be able to see that object promotion here. Just for our understanding, just for our learning, we'll use this plugin. Okay. So this is how the comprehensive sessions are going to be. That mostly this will be done next week. After the response time analysis is completed, we'll go through all these things. Okay. Then we'll go to the Java threads, thread contention, thread dump analysis. Again, this is going to be another very interesting topic. Initially, we will look into um, the thread concepts. What are the various thread state? Okay, for this as well, we will use this JVisual VM. Okay, and we'll take the thread dump from Visual VM. Okay, we will look into the various states of the thread here. If you see here in the tool, right, in the bottom, the green one is running, sleeping, wait, park, monitor. So we'll make use of the tool definitely to understand the various states of the thread. Okay, and then we'll go on to talk about the your thread dumps and thread dump analysis, thread contentions. We'll also try to, as I said, right, to understand the thread behavior in a JVM or in a Tomcat. We'll compare that with a kind of a Swiggy analogy. When this is more for our understanding, so that we'll not forget about the way thread works. Okay, to make it real interesting and we'll not forget, we'll use some comparison examples, and then we'll try to understand what are the various states of the threads, and then look that we'll go and run some JMeter scripts. We'll go and configure the minimum heap and maximum heap in the Tomcat. Okay, all these things are going to be again practical, configuring the Tomcat, and then we'll run a small JMeter script, and then we'll try to understand how these scripts threads are getting created, destroyed, various states of the threads, and then we'll discuss about the common thread problems. The threads are less, thread pool configuration is less, we are going to get problem. When to how to anticipate those problems, how to identify the problem during a load test. We'll talk about something in a real project scenarios, and then we'll also look into the thread locks, synchronization problems. Okay. Then we'll have a code in Eclipse, the e-library project, where thread problems are there. We will run the application again. Then we will go and take the thread dumps. We will analyze those thread dumps. We will see how to take the thread dump, what are various options available to take the thread dumps, and then we'll go and take those multiple thread dumps, analyze those thread dumps, and then find the root cause, go back to the code, and then spot the problem, and then that is how the thread dump analysis is going to be done in a practical way. We'll also talk about the synchronization concept, that is good and also bad if it is not implemented properly, and that is also we'll cover it as part of the this thread session. So once this is done, then we'll talk about the JVM benchmarking. Now we have optimized the memory, we have configured the threads properly. Okay, now we'll talk about JVM benchmarking. How ideally we go and do the JVM benchmarking, picking up different memory configurations, 4 GB heap or 3 GB heap or 8 GB heap, 100 threads, 200 threads. So this combination, how do we go and do it? That we will talk it in a real project. How do we do it? How do we arrive at the proper values? We will talk about the JVM benchmarking once the thread concepts are completed. Okay. Then we will move on to the client-side analysis for the web and mobile. So for the client-side analysis, let me open the slides. Okay, so for the client-side analysis, client-side profiling, we will go and look into basic things, why it is required, why the client-side is required, why JMeter or load runner doesn't capture those, and what is the approach we'll follow for the client-side analysis. Okay, we'll start as a tester and do that analysis as a performance engineer. We'll see the top-down approach. We'll learn about Paint APIs. We'll learn about navigation APIs. All these APIs are available in the browser. It's very important for us to learn these things because all the client-side metrics is going to come from these APIs. Importance of these things, and we'll see how are we going to capture this metrics, induce experience metrics like load time, time to first paint, time to contentful paint, page size for different pages. And with once we have this data in our hand, then again with cache, without cache, we'll know if the page size is more, if the caching is not done properly, if the response time is high. Then we'll go and see how we can optimize the page. So we'll look into the couple of important optimization: resource compression, JavaScript minification, combining the style sheet and JavaScripts, cache expiry headers, CDNs, content delivery network, whether it is implemented or not. So all these things, again, we will look into it practically, to see the impact it is going to bring in. When a resource is not compressed, what is going to happen? We'll go and see how we can apply that setting in a Tomcat. Few JavaScript we'll take it, and then we'll minify the JavaScripts and see what's the different it is going to bring into the resource size. So all these the various recommendations, various optimization also, we will try to learn from a client-side analysis perspective. Okay, so this is for the web, and for the mobile as well. From an Android perspective, we will use the for the native apps, right? Like the app like that you install in your mobile, like Amazon, Flipkart apps. For that, it is not a browser, right? It is an app. So for that, we need to capture the metrics like CPU or memory, network calls. We have to capture it through some tools like Charles Proxy. That as well, practically, we will see how to use Charles Proxy, how to use the Android debug bridge tools to capture the CPU and memory for the mobile native apps. Okay, and then we will move on to the. So now we have done the profiling on server side. We have optimized the response time. We have done the memory leak analysis. Thread analysis is done. Client side analysis is done. Then we will move on to the monitoring aspect. So before running a load test, right? Typically in a project, we need to make sure proper monitoring is configured. Proper monitoring strategy is available for us, because if proper monitoring strategy is not there, we'll never know which component are there in your architecture, and how are we going to capture the data for each of this component. Okay, so we'll try to understand how typically we will do this, right? We'll get the tech stack, we'll get the architecture from the development team or from the architects, and see what all components are there, from where it will start, where it will go. There will be a lot of downstream services, MQs, Kafka, mainframes. So we have to put that architecture diagram, and for each component might have a Linux or Windows, Tomcat or WebLogic, and it could be a Java, or it could be some other tech stack. So we need to know how are we going to capture metrics from each layer. What are the tools available within the project team? So you might already have AppDynamics. They might have configured AppDynamics in all the layers, or in one of the components they might not have the APM tool. So in that case, how are we going to capture this metrics? So this monitoring strategy is all about putting your application architecture and try to understand whether each component has a proper monitoring tool or not. Okay, that visibility you as a performance engineer should have it. Otherwise, you will not be able to find the proper analysis when a load test is happening. Something will be a black box. If Oracle is there, if you don't have a tool to monitor, if you don't have AWR reports to analyze the Oracle, right, then you will not be able to understand what is going inside the Oracle at all. That will be a black box. So that you should tell that you should get access to Oracle DB, so that you can go and take a snapshot and IWR report, or in a strategy you should mention that which team is going to do it. So that is going to be part of your monitoring strategy. And from a tooling perspective, we will go and look into the AppDynamics and TickStack. I already mentioned about the TickStack yesterday. Telegraph, one of the famous open source tool. Telegraph, InfluxDB, Grafana or Chronograph. And from an app dynamics perspective, so this one we'll go and start the thing from a scratch. We'll set up all these components separately, and then start these components, and then create some dashboards in Chronograph or Grafana, and we'll monitor your host level parameters like Windows OS, CPU, memory, your threads, network, whatever you get it from a Perfmon, right? Perfmon is a tool for Windows. All these things will get it from the your tech stack. So this is going to be a one good session on the open source tool monitoring, and second is going to be a comprehensive session on AppDynamics. How to set up this in the cloud, how to configure it in the your Tomcat. Say for example, if I go and start the let me go and start my Tomcat. It is already configured in my mission, but we'll do it from the starting one more time. So I'll just go to the DevOps. Go to the Tomcat new, and if I start the server, in the server you will see that it will start connecting with the AppDynamics. Okay, so we'll see how to make this happen, how to make your Java application running in your local to connect with the AppDynamics server. Okay, it should come. Let's wait for a second. Yeah, if you see here, this lines of code, right? So started last two lines. Started the AppDynamics Java agent successfully, and before that, if you see, it has set this Java agent directory. See dev appd app server agent version 21. So it is trying to set that directory when the JVM starts, and then it is going to um, start the AppDynamics. So we'll see how to configure all these agents with the AppDynamics with the JVM as part of the session, and then we will go and use that AppDynamics cloud to monitor the business transaction. We can do a similar response time diagnostics. Whatever we do using the JProfiler, that is for a single user profile. Now, during the load test, we cannot use a profiling tool, right? So in AppDynamics, how do we go and do the response time diagnostics? So monitoring all the response time business transactions, monitoring the your OS data, JVM data like memory, thread, garbage collection, all these things, right? Garbage collection, thread, memory. You might have used different tools during early performance engineering. But with AppDynamics, we'll see how to monitor the garbage collection. We don't need to go and look into the GC logs. We can use AppDynamics itself to know how many major GCs or how many minor GCs, what is the GC time, all we can monitor using AppDynamics. Database response time, third-party response time, how to create events, how to set alerts, all these things we will learn it from the APM perspective using AppDynamics. Okay, so then we'll also move on to some of the latency issues. We'll talk about latency issue. We'll use tools like Ping and Tracert to troubleshoot some of the latency problem. Okay, and then from a monitoring, then the database monitoring, right? For database monitoring, again, before going into the Oracle AWR reports, we will spend good time in the Oracle architecture. That is again very important, because to know how Oracle works, similar to how JVM works, we will also try to understand how Oracle works internally from an architecture perspective. What is the process architecture inside Oracle, and what are the various components inside that, and then Oracle memory structure. Memory structure is similar to JVM actually. Oracle itself, it's built on top of JVM, right? So we'll try to understand how the memory structure works. What is the PGA? What is HGA? And two important components of buffer cache and shared pool. And then we'll try to learn about the parsing, art parsing, soft parsing, buffer cache. All these things very important from a database monitoring perspective. Okay, and we'll also see some of the examples of how buffer cache and parsing is going to impact your overall response time, your end user response time. Okay, all these things are from a concept perspective very important from a interview. All these soft parsing, hard parsing, buffer cache hit ratio, when this will be impacted. All these things are important that will learn during the session, and then we'll go to the AWS section where we'll connect to a Oracle DB directly, and then using the SQL client, we will go and enable the snapshots. We'll use some of the SQL commands to enable the snapshots, to take the snapshots, to configure the snapshots, and we'll also try to learn what are the thumb rule for creating this AWS report. How frequently we have to take it, when to take it. All these things we will look into the AWS report and the load profiling also. Load profiling inside the AWS report, then we'll go and look into the what are the various sections in the AWS report, what are all section we will be interested from a monitoring perspective. So load profiles, efficiency percentage to capture the buffer cache, to capture the parsing efficiency. These are the data we will monitor and capture from a database perspective. So these as well we will look into it. DB time, and then we'll look into the importance of bind variable impacting the parsing efficiency. So all these things we will be looking into it in detail in a practical way from an Oracle perspective. Okay, so rest are going to be engineering strategies, introduction to DevOps again. We're going to see it practically using JMeter, Jenkins, and we'll look into the various plugins that are available to do the integration. Okay, and introduction to the cloud resiliency as well. It's going to be kind of a theoretical stuff, the cloud performance, since it's an introduction to it. But as I said yesterday, I will also try to include, I'll try to include the AWS CloudWatch monitoring if possible, so that you will also get a feel of how CloudWatch is used for monitoring the cloud service. Okay, but that is not part of the session, but I'll try to cover it as well. I'm rushing up the last 2 to 3 items, right, from a engineering strategy, DevOps, cloud also. It will be a very good sessions, very good practical sessions for you to understand and implement. Okay, especially the DevOps one. It is going to be a very interesting practical sessions that you'll get it. Okay, so that's a comprehensive thing which I wanted to highlight to you all to understand what are all things we are going to learn from each of the topics. Okay, so I'll take a pass now. If you have any questions, we can spend some time before we close the session today, so that from tomorrow it is going to be a complete we will start with the Java basics, and then we'll go as per the scheduled plan. Okay, so I'll take a pass now. If you have any questions, yeah, feel free to ask those. And the session timings are, it's going to be 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. I know there's a person who like to have this a little early, but we can discuss and decide depending upon everybody's comfortness on that timing. We can decide it. But for now, it is 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. as committed. But once we decide, once we know, confirm all the people who are going to join, right? Maybe by tomorrow we will get that final numbers. So if everyone is comfortable with 7:30, we'll go with 7:30. If majority of people are comfortable only with 8, we'll go with 8. So original plan is 8 a.m. only. If at all everybody agrees, then we'll go to the 7:30 to 8:30. Okay, so anyone who is so guys, anybody have any questions? You can put it in the chat, or you can unmute and ask questions, guys. Or if you wanted to talk something offline or discuss something offline also, feel free to do that today. If you have any questions on the topics or applicability for you, whether it is good for you or not, right? You can reach out to me or reach out to Kumar sir. Anything, any questions related to the payments, you can also reach out to Kumar sir. Okay.
Hi Satish, Shraddha this side.
Yeah, hi.
Yeah, so just want to know like this setup of the sample application will be the part of the session. Like we all will be setting up that application on our machine in a session itself.
That is not the plan, setting up these things, right? So during the session, when I going to teach something, it is not recommended to for you to follow it and do it, because that is not going to work out at all, because it is going to take longer time for you to do it. Okay, number one, say for example, tomorrow we're going to start the sessions, right? And tomorrow it is going to be Java introduction and then Java basics, Java programming. For that you need the Eclipse, Tomcat. Okay, you don't need the other applications, you just need the Eclipse and Tomcat. You can start setting up from today. Okay, if in case if you have a problem, okay, yes, if we are going to the first time, mostly with Java, for everyone, even if I'm going to do a setup in a new machine, right, I will end up with some problem, some kind of a compatibility or whatever it is. So you try to solve those problems, and that is how we learn a lot of things. Okay, so you can set up those Eclipse and Tomcat today and tomorrow, so that you can practice it from Thursday. And for the application, okay, again you need a Tomcat, right? You need a Tomcat, and you need to download the project and then import into Eclipse. That part I will tell you how to import that into an Eclipse, and then how to get a war file, how to deploy in a Tomcat. That will be part of the session. Okay, but setting up the your Java Eclipse, right? um, it is just very straightforward. You just need to install Java, click next, it will get installed. And then the setting of the environmental variables is, we'll cover it tomorrow. Okay, and once it is done, Java will work in that machine. And you need to download the Eclipse and again install it. It is again just a click next kind of a thing. So it should work. And then importing that the e-library project, that we will cover it in the session. So it is going to be a mix and match. Exactly, we will not replicate the setting up the environment in the session. If at all you have any problems, we can cover it in a separate session, or we can connect offline and see what is the problem you're getting it while you want to set up in your mission. So it is going to be partial, right? We'll not go and install Java in the class, but we'll go and configure the environmental variables. We'll not install Eclipse, but we'll try to we'll import the project in the Eclipse and deploy it in the Tomcat. Those part will be covered in the tomorrow one, day after. if
Okay,
if if
Satish.
many of you have problem, right, if many of you have problem in setting up this, what I will do is probably sometime this week, mostly on Saturday, I will try to get a video recording of setting up this in a new mission. If it's a new mission, right, from Java, environmental variables, Eclipse, and then importing the project and then deploying a Tomcat, I'll try to get a recording out of it so that you can use it for your setting up the environment. Okay, and even when I do it in my another mission, I will get some problems which I have to solve it. Similarly for every one of you, right, even though you're going to follow exactly same thing, you will end up with some problem. That is how Java works in every other mission or every other people. In that, you might have to probably solve those problems. It will be all problem will be all usual things, right? Compatibility with your Tomcat, compatible with the Eclipse, some problem with your mission. All these things are something interesting. If you start solving it, right, you will end up learning a lot of things. So it will be a little fun for sure. Okay. Um, so I'll try to get a video for the setting up this environment by the weekend if many of you have problem with that. Okay. Fine, guys. So we'll close this session today, and then we will connect tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. as per the plan, and then we will start with the first topic from tomorrow. Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Bye bye.